Thank you. That was amazing. Thank you so much. Listen, we're going to have a 5-minute break now, and that slide is going to come up on the screen behind me. If you'd like to ask Steve any questions, we're going to just rearrange the furniture a bit and be back in about 5 minutes to answer some of the questions that appear. Oh, there we go. Already appearing. We'll go through those in a few minutes. But there'll be some people coming around with some coffee and tea. If you'd like a refill, do so. There are nibbles on the tables, and do carry on those conversations. Have a good ask for some questions. Brilliant. Oh. Lovely. Well, we're gonna turn interrogators now. Thank you for all your questions that are appearing on the screen. I think my favourite one so far is right at the bottom, which says, "Can you make my wife disappear?" You don't have to answer that.
No, we can talk afterwards.
So let's go through. Have you ever failed doing a trick on stage?
Start soft and go hard. That's what I think. I think a magician's worst nightmare is gravity. You can drop anything at any point for any reason. So if you've got a pack of cards and you drop them on the floor, you're dead in the water. Because no one wants to see you picking up the cards. Even if it just takes 10 seconds, it's not entertaining. Yeah. If you knock the jug of water over, you can't do the trick. So yes, things have gone wrong, and it's almost always things falling over.
Wow. And okay, I'm going to skip the next question. Just on the issue on the what's the topic of tricks?
Yes.
Can you explain just one of your tricks to show us how the illusion works?
A good magician never reveals their secret, and neither will I.
Oh, that was easy then. There's a lot of tell us how you do it.
Yeah, brilliantly.
So here's a question more about your faith as well. As a Christian, how do you deal with the difficult question regarding your faith and being a magician?
So I think there's possibly two aspects to the question. One is about deceit, being deceitful. As a magician, I lie for a living. It's my job. But I don't know if you're familiar with the author Adrian Plass. He once wrote, "Who can possibly be more transparently honest than someone who tells you they're an illusionist or a magician?" So I tell you I'm going to, whatever word you want to use, fool you, lie to you, cheat. I'm good with that as long as you know that nothing I've done up here is real. I don't want to leave you in any doubt. It's all sleight of hand, skill, years of practice and self-denial.
Wow.
So I think that covers the deception issue. It's like if you go to a theatre and you see a murder mystery, you know they're not murdering someone every night. You know, there's that understanding. I'll pretend to be a magician if you pretend to be an audience. The other aspect is more towards the kind of, let's term it occult or demonic side. The Bible is very clear. Stay away from that. I would include horoscopes in that myself. We don't know what that involves. Stay away from those things. Christianity is full of truth and light. And what I do, I hope, is truth and light. Maybe not in a conventional sense, but if I can build a rapport with an audience, if I can entertain them, my tricks are just tricks. I mean, don't lose sleep over them. It's just fun. I love it.
So on that, following that theme then, you're a Christian. How did you become a Christian?
Okay. I think I was very privileged, really. My parents are Christians. I got brought up through the church, creche, Sunday school. For me, the key time in my life was when I went to university at 18 years old. Went and studied engineering in Loughborough in Leicestershire, and I didn't have to go to church every Sunday. Then it became my choice. And it was at that point I thought, why do I want to do that? Do I want to be a Christian for myself rather than just it being this kind of family thing? And I thought, yes I do. I know the Bible stories, but to realise that Christianity, it's more than knowing stories. It's about having a faith in Jesus, putting your trust in him. And for me, that was a time of exponential growth. As a student, I was reading my Bible, I was praying, I was wanting to do more in terms of outreach, particularly to the student community I was with. And so I think I'm very fortunate. Someone once said to me, because you get these amazing testimonies, people who've been lost, they've been into drink and alcohol and things like that. And they have a powerful experience of Christ. And I've not had that. And I once said to someone, maybe a bit ungraciously, I don't have an amazing story. And he said, well, you're like the story of the prodigal son, but you're not the son who went off the rails and came back. You're the son who stayed in his father's house all these years and then got angry or jealous when his brother returned. Don't be angry or jealous. You've been in a father's house all these years. That's worth celebrating. So I've kind of, that's it in that much.
So having gone through uni, and what did you study engineering? You studied engineering, but did you follow that career path after uni, or how did you get into trickery?
Genuinely, I did what's called a year in industry as part of my degree. So I went and worked in a factory for a year, and in that year I designed a product and I had it made, and I thought, well, it doesn't really get better than that, does it? If you work on something bigger like a car or an aeroplane, then you can say, well, I designed that bolt, or I designed that washer, or I did a tiny part of that. But I'd had something made. I thought, well, I've done engineering now. And then this was my hobby, genuinely. What I've said in my show is true. I was fascinated by tricks and illusions at 8 years old. It was all I ever wanted to do. And so basically, I came out of university and just went for it.
Wow. And so someone's asked, are you single?
Hey.
So I do that again? Single.
I have been happily married for 17 years.
Oh, shame. Sorry, whoever's out there asking that question.
I've got to be honest.
And so you go all over the country, just...
all over the world.
All over the world. Sorry.
After Iceland.
All over the world.
It makes me laugh because people will sort of say to me, oh, well, you come to Nottingham to do a show? And you're like, literally, when I go off, because I go on cruise ships quite often, 1 or 2 a month, and you're like, I've just come back from Barbados, and the only reason I went there was to do a magic show. Yes, I'll come to Nottingham. The question really is, how much is it going to cost me to get you to Nottingham? Anything's possible.
So going around the world, as an illusionist, I'm sure you've come across this question from people. Many people say that believing in Jesus is the same as believing in magic. What would you say to that? Because your life is illusion. How does that compare to Jesus' life?
So I think that they are significantly different, clearly different. The life of Jesus is something that's historically documented. Whether you believe and have a faith or whether you don't, that's not in doubt. The question is whether he was who he said he was. The Bible makes extraordinary claims. This man claimed to be the Son of God. This man claimed to bring people back from the dead to life. That's not a party trick. That's not a sleight of hand. That's some serious claims that he made. And there are books you can read, and I did notice some books over there, which I presume people can steal on the way out.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
We would welcome you stealing the books on the way. These ones here on this table. I don't know about any others, but this table here. And they covered the claims that Jesus made, because either he was telling the truth, or he was telling a lie, in which case he's one of the most deceitful people who have ever lived, or he was deluded and crazy. Yeah. And there are books that look at each of those ideas, those theories, and the conclusion I came to is, well, it must be true. And then when you start to believe the claims that Jesus made, when you put your trust in him, then you see his involvement and his engagement and his interaction with our lives. We have a fantastic privilege as Christians. We can pray to God, and we can see those prayers answered. That doesn't mean that the Christian life's easy. It's not. That would be untrue or unfair to say that. But when we go through difficult times, Jesus is there, standing with us through those difficult times. So let's just give the obvious example. I lost a lot of work over the last 2 years. I mean, I'm sensible. My parents taught me well. I had a rainy day fund for if I ever broke my leg. That was what I was thinking. You know, I could be out of work for 3 months if I broke my leg. And then suddenly you lose 2 years of work. Cruise ships weren't going anywhere. But God was faithful through that. I just think, I mean, I don't know what you think, but I know my career's nuts. I know it's, I go around to playing with toys, essentially, is what I'm doing. Big kid toys, all right? They're quite expensive, some of them. But it's what I do, and I support, so my wife, you mentioned her briefly, she works as part of the Church of England in the community doing an art ministry. She doesn't get paid for that. We live off what I earn doing this. How does that work? I kind of conclude it's got to be God, because there's no other way it could be possible. I've forgotten what the question was, but...
Do you know, I've forgotten the question as well. But, so it was that sense of, is believing in Jesus the same as believing in magic? And I guess you're saying no.
So, no. If we're talking about, let's call it stage magic, this is very clearly not real. If you see rabbits being pulled out of the hat, they've just been hiding somewhere else, okay? Sorry. You wait till you hear about Father... Never mind.
How many eggs did you have on you then?
Okay, I noticed the egg, and someone put a question, can you crack the egg to prove it's real? The answer, okay, I'm not going to lie, I'm going to be completely honest. If you crack that egg, it will break. Ah. That is completely honest. Genuinely. I want to tell you more, but I'm going to be a bit careful. I've had someone in the show throw it, and it broke, and that was the end of the trick. I do on a cruise ship. Oh, I'm telling you some good stuff here. On a cruise ship, I carry a fake plastic one as well, because if it breaks, I can then go to my table and get out the fake plastic one. But certainly the one I used today was real, and yeah, I tried to use a real one.
Wow.
Incidentally, while we're talking about eggs on cruise ships, if you ask for them, which I do, they arrive frozen. Because think about it, if you're at sea for about 11 days, they literally keep them in the freezer. I learned that the hard way, because I asked for 11 eggs to be in the dressing room before a show, and I went to do the show and realised they are frozen. And so backstage, I literally cracked one of them into the jug to see what happens when you crack a frozen egg. And the answer is nothing happens until you squeeze it, and then it comes out. So I was all right, I could do the show, but now I've learned to ask for eggs a couple of days before the show.
So here's a question, just your last question then about magic, really. What's your favourite trick what's your favourite trick by any magician? That's the question on here.
Okay.
Good question.
So many good answers to that. Because I've got a best funny trick, I've got a best amazing trick, I've got a best family trick, I've got a best dangerous. Which is your favourite child? We've all got an answer.
I don't.
Right? Yeah.
Because my boys are here.
It changes, doesn't it? Yeah. I'm going to answer differently, because I'm going to answer what's the favourite trick that I do. Because the favourite trick I do, I've not done today. So that means you invite me back again.
Oh.
The favourite trick I do involves a borrowed watch from the audience, and it disappears, and it reappears from somewhere that is so unexpected that genuinely I'm astonished when it happens. So goodness knows how the audience feels.
Oh, Steve, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Can we just give Steve another real round of applause?
Thank you. Thank you. Really appreciate it.
And listen, just to round off, I'd like to just share a story about the person that Steve was talking about, Jesus, who's recorded in Luke's Gospels. That's the pink booklet in front of you. That's from the Bible. And it tells the story of how Jesus actually met a lady once. He was walking along a road. He got really thirsty. He came to a well. He sat down by the well. And basically, he was just sitting there waiting for someone to come along with a bucket to give him a drink. And this lady comes along by herself. She's got a bucket. And he says, Madam, can I have a drink? And she kind of goes, well, that's a bit rich coming from you. And that's because he was a Jew, and his people hated her people. She was a Samaritan. And she goes, it's a bit rich coming from you. And he says, well, do you know what? If you knew who I was, if you knew who was speaking to you, you would actually ask him for water, not just for any old water, but water that will last for eternal life. And she goes, well, this is really funny, isn't it? Because here you are, you're thirsty, you're helpless, I'm here, I've got a bucket. And actually, she says, and gets a bit sarcastic, she says, well, hang on, if you gave me water without your bucket and in your helpless state, then I wouldn't actually need to be here. But actually, as things are, I'm here with the bucket, and you're needing my help. And she basically says, I'm in control, and you need me. You've got nothing to offer me. And her situation, as she's standing there with that bucket in front of Jesus, is a great illustration of how many of us in our modern culture relate to Jesus. We look at our lives, we're actually really self-sufficient. We've got our buckets, we've got our lives, they're really cool, they're really groovy. And we don't need him. He's got this thing offering to us, but fundamentally we're saying we don't need him. But then Jesus gets to the point. He says, Madam, how about if we talk this through with your husband as well? And she gets defensive. I don't have a husband. And then he says to her, and reveals his divine knowledge, I know. Actually, you've had 5 husbands, and the man you're with isn't your husband. And suddenly, Jesus gets to the bedrock of the truth of her life. She's been living an illusion of self-sufficiency, an illusion of I'll do God my way, I'll do life my way, and it's not worked. And at that moment of revealing the bedrock of her life and the truth, what he's showing is the reality. Because she needs him and he's in control. And in many ways, her whole life is just a great illustration of our modern culture. Our modern culture says, I don't need God because I'm in control. But when we actually start digging down to the bedrock of what we're really like, to the bedrock of those moments in our lives where we kind of think, oh, what have I done? What have I said? Why did I do that? Why didn't I say that? Why didn't I help that person? What am I doing? Actually, when we hit that bedrock, the illusion is revealed for what it is. And we perpetuate that illusion. You look at our Facebook accounts. You look at the Facebook accounts of people you want to be, the people you follow, and you see the illusion. Their lives are great and our lives are not. And we want to be like them. We follow them. We look anxiously at what they're doing now and what we ought to be doing next. And it is just one big illusion, because when we're asked that question that digs right down to the bedrock of truth of our lives, we realize actually it is an illusion, it's empty. And Jesus still offers this living water. And he says this to this woman. It's just the most amazing thing. If you want to take this, the pink booklets in front of you, it's John's Gospel. It's John chapter 4, verse 23. He says this, the hour is coming and has now come. That's a really cool thing. Because what he says is this. Okay, now we've got to the bedrock of the truth of your life and my life. Actually, this is what happens next. The hour is coming and is now here in front of you, woman, where true worshippers will worship the Father in spirit and truth. You will have a real, genuine, honest, living, glorious, soul-refreshing relationship with God. That's his promise. And he gives the reason, which is even more astounding. For God the Father is seeking such people to worship him. Now, if all that Jesus did was religion, what he'd say is, woman, give me some more water and just keep giving it to me till I'm satisfied. Because that's what religion says about relationship with God. Relationship with God, according to religion, is unsatisfiable. And that's the illusion of religion, because it paints this picture that the more stuff you do, the better it becomes for you. That's an illusion as well. But Jesus says, let's get rid of pretense. Let's stop pretending about life. Let's not do pretense religion. Let's do a real and living relationship with God, which is this. God is seeking people whom he wants to worship. In other words, God has given his Son to this world, Jesus Christ. And Jesus has said, I've come to give you life, real life, not illusion life. And he says, look, the hour has come. Now it's it. Now is the time. He says, let's stop pretending. Let's stop the illusion. Let's cut to the truth now, here. Because true worshippers will worship the Father in spirit and truth. There will be a genuine, soul-refreshing relationship with God, just like that moment you are really, really thirsty and you take a long, cold drink. That's what a relationship with Jesus in person is like with him. Isn't that amazing? And listen, I'm not going to pretend it's going to happen overnight. I'm not going to pretend that actually we are each on our journey. And Steve's coming to know Jesus personally for himself is different to the way that I came. I was a very religious person, just by the way. But the reality is, all we need to do is start being real with Jesus. Just like this woman, he's pulled back the illusion of our lives. He knows what's going on in each of us. And actually, he says, the Father wants to know us. He's seeking people to worship him. And that means the pretense can stop, the illusion can be thrown away. And what he's asking us to do is find out about him, to reach out to him and begin to ask him for that living, soul-refreshing water. That's the joy of Jesus. That's the reality of our lives. The pretense of religion can stop. The pretense of modern social media can be let go of. And actually, he invites us all to know him. And we can do that by talking to him. We can do that by asking our Christian friends about their relationship with Jesus, just like we've asked Steve. And you can start talking to Jesus yourself. Look, Jesus, I don't get this. I get that life is an illusion. I get that religion is a fake. But I've been told by this nutjob magician and a nutjob minister that actually there's something to this soul-refreshing water that Jesus offers. And it's worth finding out. Thank you, Steve, for coming this morning. Thank you for joining us this morning too. I hope if you've come with a friend or someone who knows about this Jesus person, just ask them how they became a Christian. Just like this woman met Jesus, they've met Jesus. And my prayer is that this is the first time you've heard about a relationship with Jesus. And I hope that it's the first step on your journey to finding out about him yourselves. Thank you for coming this morning, guys. Thank you for joining us online. I think the teas and coffees are going to come around again if you want to drink, but do carry on. Do carry on with your conversations. The other thing to say is on your table are loads of things about Jesus. Please take those for yourself. They're free. You don't have to buy them or anything. Just take them. And as I say, there's a little table with just free resources. What I love it is there's a book there which is loads of testimonies about people who have met Jesus for themselves. And if you want to buy some books, there's still a bookstall just around the corner. You can buy those. I think there'll be someone attending that bookstall, and you can just ask about those books. But thank you for coming this morning. Thank you, Steve, for coming this morning. It's been a real amazing time. Thank you so much. Brilliant. Well, do carry on with your coffees and tea. Thank you.